What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we need to talk to you about Lucid. I want to give you a quick overview of some of the current data points, what really drove it down today, and what shorts did. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid did go down 2.86%, and that was largely because of Tesla. So this past weekend, a lot of negative things have been coming out. So Tesla cutting prices on their vehicles, largely in China, also cutting prices of FSD. And just with the layoffs, it just does not look good going into Tesla's upcoming earnings on Tuesday after hours. So a lot of that was really affecting Lucid. So we'll just have to wait and see. But no doubtably, tomorrow's going to be quite the roller coaster for Lucid. And based on the technicals, it was trying to fight back. So you did see some institutions buying. 20.3 million shares were traded. 25.04 is the average. These are some of the transactions that have occurred so far in the secondary market above $100,000. And that's a nice increase from the last couple of days, nice change of events. Dark pool was very active as it usually does, so that was linked to shorting. An interesting part though, so this is why I like to analyze what shorts did, because today shorts did return 711,000 shares, whereas they could have easily doubled down and taken advantage of the broader fears associated in the EV sector. So something interesting to note, but 32.26% of the free float is being shorted. That works out to be 285.69 million shares overall are being shorted. Utilization is 98.37, and then cost to borrow average is 49.51. While I'm on Ortex, just want to give you the latest round of 13Fs, so a lot of the big holders in the market. So you did see Vanguard, Blackrock, a lot of the big names did increase their position in Q1. So Vanguard increased 11.81 million, and so you can kind of see the breakdown on the actual ETFs and what they did in each specific one. So kind of interesting stuff as well. Blackrock did increase 990,000 shares. This is the breakdown for here. I think it is just a matter of time before Cathie Wood, you do see ARK on this list. So maybe it'll come in 2024, maybe 2025. As she has stated in the past, she's very much oriented towards autonomous driving. So maybe with Lucid's new NVIDIA chip partnership that's kicking in 2026, I believe, that is something that maybe might be of interest to her. And I think in general, that might be something that we can pose to management for this upcoming Q1 earnings, just to see if there's any updates associated to that, see if it's still planned for 2026 or maybe a little bit sooner. Because as far as I remember, I think they did say that it was supposed to be in the Gravity, which would insinuate this year, not 2026. So again, we'll just have to wait and see. And like I said, today was the very first day that you could pose questions to management. And how do I say this nicely? I'm not really happy exactly with these questions, because there was a couple of things that Lucid cannot answer, whether they physically can't or they can't because of restrictions. But will Lucid make an affordable car to compete with Tesla? I can already hear Peter saying and talking all about technology. So it has nothing to do with an affordable car. It's literally just going to talk about technology. So this, in my opinion, I don't know how this has 607 votes. Is kind of crazy to think of. Like I said, I think this is one problem with retail, not necessarily just Lucid, but retail stocks. You can't organize us as a group and put forth good questions, because just so far in the first day, you already have duplicate questions. So second question is about profitability. And I did say already that Lucid isn't capable of even giving us barely 2024 guidance. Like, they haven't even talked on 2025 guidance. How can they talk on profitability if they don't know their kind of reflection point, right? Because they need to, as far as my estimates, and that's something I've done, I haven't seen any articles, I do feel they need to be delivering at least 140 to maybe 160,000 vehicles every single year before they start to possibly even think about turning a potential profit. And so of course, why, like, they haven't even given us 2025 guidance. How can they talk on profitability? This is why I tried to say you need to think very, very clearly on what you are actually going to be asking. Because so far, our first question, Peter won't answer. He's just going to talk and rant about technology. Second question, they won't be able to answer that. They don't have the ability to do that. And so third one, what are the plans for marketing to increase sales business? So in reality, yeah, normally that would be a good kind of question, but you don't think Lucid is trying to maximize their sales behind the scenes? They're just going to say we're doing everything possible to maximize, go to the areas that have demand, blah, blah, blah. Like, these aren't good questions, in my opinion. Now, this question right here, are you in talks with any legacy automakers? Because in Q3 of 2023, they did signal that there might be some licensing agreements with some OEMs. So yeah, that type of question I feel like is good. And then this one right here, just talking on, like, I guess, what is your outlook for 2025 on sales? Like, it's still, they won't be able to answer that. They gave, like, it was literally last quarter, they gave us 2024 guidance. Like, that is crazy stuff. So what makes you think that we can even think about 2025? I get it. Normally, any other company, this would be very good questions to ask. But when it comes to Lucid, not so much. And this one, how's the progress of the company doing by the market now? Many people lost. I think that's just poor English altogether. But like, there's many questions that people have. I think it was last quarter, it might have been the quarter before. You can tell people and shareholders' concerns. The stock price was just plummeting. So what was the company doing? We can already revert back to that question. That's how they're going to answer this question. So what is Lucid doing to stop the stock price from plummeting? They're just doing their job. Like I've said in the past, there's a lot of people don't really have the mentality to realize that stock price is not always correlated with operations. So when it comes down to Peter answering that, they're like, well, we're doing the best we can. Like, there's not really much that they can do to influence a stock price unless it's possibly a buyback, but Lucid is definitely not in any means in that realm of doing a buyback. And then going back over here, is there any plans for an affordable car? It's already a duplicate right here. So this is just something that needs to really stop, in my opinion. This one right here, they will never admit to. There is a shareholder meeting in June 20 something. I don't know. Ultimately June 26th. I'm just throwing that out there. It is in June, ultimately, their annual meeting. But to ask them about a reverse stock split, they'll just easily say no. If the stock price gets to maybe, let's say, $1 or something like that, then yes, they probably would be thinking about doing a reverse stock split. But at this stage, Lucid's already considered a penny stock. So any institutions that had to sell out because of the stipulations associated to that would have already done so a long time ago. So why would they do a reverse stock split now? It makes absolutely no sense. And plus, like I just said, shorts have been dictating exactly what has been happening. So having 33% short interest is absolutely insane. So still, I get the mentality with a lot of these questions. I just feel like it's not the best. And then right here, Lucid seems to be only rich, or Lucid seems to be a car only for the rich. Do y'all plan on making an affordable car? So a duplication, and Lucid's already said that it's all about quality, right? So quality kind of goes with rich hand in hand, if you think about it. Or Peter could somehow spin it and say, you know what, we have the Gravity $80,000 price target, we've lowered prices on the Pierre, blah, blah, blah. Like, they could just easily spin that to say, hey, look, we have been lowering the prices. Like, you don't have to be rich essentially to buy a Pierre. I don't know. They could always spin that. So in reality, I haven't gone through all the questions, just so far based on what I've read, not the best, in my opinion. So I could be wrong. Let me know your guys' thoughts on these questions so far. But in my opinion, I feel like a lot of these will result in absolutely nothing of utility coming from the typical shareholder. So that's just my thoughts. But I'll give you guys updates every so often, every couple of videos, just to see if there is any changes. But typically what Lucid does do is they slate the top 3 questions. Unless they really feel bad for us, then they typically ask like the first 5, or I think they did like 6 or 7 last time. But still, moving on to options. $396,000 in calls being purchased versus 530 in puts. Sentiment-wise, 54% of all the options being done today were bearish. And of the call options that are being purchased, you see a consensus for it to be above 250 for the next couple of weeks. And then looking at puts, you do see a consensus for it to be below 250. So clearly a pivot point for that. And even when it comes down to this upcoming earnings, you don't really see anything crazy. So not much optimism for this upcoming earnings. So that is somewhat scary to kind of think of. I've already pointed this out. So institutions obviously buying on the secondary market. When it comes down to Lucid, it was fighting. There was a new 52-week and all-time low created at $2.31. but with it closing at $2.38, it is still within this range, so this S3 to this S2. So you'll really want to watch for Lucid to continue to fight and get above this S2 of $2.43, which so far it kind of bounced off of that general area, so the technicals aren't necessarily looking the best. As I pointed out, the Elliott wave technicals are kind of pointing to it hitting the low 2s or the high 1s, so hopefully that doesn't come, but still maybe that goes back to this question about doing the whole reverse stock split. I don't know, maybe. So ultimately watch for this to kind of be the next target for tomorrow, so $2.43. So hopefully it does have some good momentum that can kind of push higher. You do see also the fear and greed index starting to creep back up, so people's appetite for risk is starting to go back up, so maybe that could potentially help Lucid. In the past, I guess it necessarily hasn't, because Lucid was going down when it was at like 80, 82, so still something to consider. On the actual chart, it is lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. You do see, despite everything in the pull down from today, a nice bullish deviation, so white line above the red, but it is at 14 still, so it is considered oversold. So hopefully if there is a good piece of news or a surprise Lucid wants to put out before their earnings, then you could see a rush of value investors. And over the last 2 trading days, you've seen institutions paying a little bit more attention to Lucid, so maybe they are anticipating some positive earnings, maybe, I'm not really sure. But aside from that, retail didn't really do all that much, was kind of maintaining their position. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on Lucid. What is your thoughts, for instance, on these questions? What's your thoughts on BlackRock, Vanguard, a lot of the big names in the market, all increasing their position? Do you think that's a positive thing? Negative? What's your viewpoint? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And make sure you guys take advantage of this promo. As I always share with you, simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 7 fractional shares of the 𝗪𝗧𝗛. So kick-ass deal. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.